You ever wonder why Fred and the Flintstones never really got a reboot, a sequel, or a spin-off actually work? It's actually very easily answered. Well, multiple answers. I think the first one that everybody points out is because of Family Guy, specifically Peter and Ashley Fred, because those two characters are very similar. In fact, both shows so similar that I'm shockingly that Hanna-Barbera never sued Fox to basically stole their franchise now because they maybe have enough way to actually sue them, or at least Warner Brothers, who owns Hanna-Barbera, actually sued Fox because of Family Guy, but yet interesting enough, they actually did hire the creator of Family Guy, McFarlane, to actually reboot the Flintstones. But that's the shocking part. They have the right person to reboot the Flintstones, redo Fred, because McFarlane is a TV guy. He knows 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s sort of sitcom. He understands the tropes, understand the jokes, understand how to make it modern. This is the reason why Family Guy is successful. This is the reason why Peter is the perfect image of that sort of dad, white shirt colored guy who is fat and a moron and a loudmouth. But this is the problem that McFarlane could not make the Flintstones work because he says every time he writes Fred, he just sounds like Peter, exactly like Peter. So it did not make sense to continue this reboot because he just could not make something different enough to not compare to actually Peter Griffin. But believe it or not, it is a way you can do it, but at the same time, you can't because everything else has to have been done. Before I break down this video, my name is Retro. I like to talk about animation, not just animation, the reviews, first impressions, cartoon theories, and sometimes, if I have some spare time, cartoon breaking news. Of course, if you like how it's going, you like to help my channel, put a like, comment, and subscribe. That's the only thing you need to do. If you don't, that's fine too. But you do, thank you, thanks to you, I passed my main goal of 1,000 subscribers, and my new main goal is passing 2,000. Yeah, I know I can pass it, thanks to all the people who like, comment, and share. Now, let's get started. It's the reason why Fred and the Flintstones can never come back because of Family Guy. Now, to understand the Flintstones, you also understand how Hanna-Barbera actually works. Because usually, every time they make a show back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, it's sort of rip off different comedians, rip off different shows, and attempted to make something brand new. And believe it or not, the Flintstones was inspired by the Honeymooners, specifically Ralph, the main lead, by Barney, because it is basically two couples who are actually living next to each other, but you focus on the main couple, what their job, what they're complaining, and how to survive the life while very limited money, trying to figure out how to get out of that hole. And that's basically what the Flintstones is. It's a rip-off the Honeymooners. Now, how I explain it is exactly explained by the Honeymooners. But interesting enough, I'm surprised they never got sued, but the same creator on the Honeymoons, I guess because it's so different and unique. Now, besides that, I'm more surprised that he never really continued the series because I said before, because of Family Guy. Because Peter acts exactly like Fred. You could say it's the same thing like Ralph. Other people say it could be very similar to All in the Family, like the main lead of that show, that he is angry, white collared, idiot, big. Everything is the exact same thing, but the only difference is Family Guy is sort of modern and very edgy. To compare to the Flintstones or Fred, they're not really that edgy over the top. They actually can do dirty jokes or innuendos, but they do it sort of lowbrow in a way that you don't really notice it. But yet they attempted to bring it back. But then also another problem is that the Flintstones took too long to come back. Because of this, this is the reason why Family Guy became the dominant adult comedy show. Because back in the day, the Flintstones used to be mainstream. It was the one who broke the mold, the one who gave the chance to, I think it was the Simpsons to break through. Because if the Simpsons have success, I mean, the Flintstones have success, the Simpsons also. But that's the other problem. You have other competition besides Family Guy. You have The Simpsons. You have American Dad. You also have sort of kind of family friendly sort of Flintstones called The Cruise. They have their own television series and also the same concept as the Flintstones. On top of all this, you also have Croptopolis, who has a different genre, a different ideas of the same idea of the Flintstones, but the only problem is Croptopolis actually have layers of the jokes and the characters and the mythology they actually inspired by, but do it on spin-off series, but yet you can tell the inspiration. It is basically the Flintstones. And yet that's the problem. They took every single point of the original Flintstones and they don't have an opening to come back. But at the same time, you could actually blame Warner Brothers because they own the rights. They took too long to reboot the series. They just relied too much on Scooby Doo. They never used the Flintstones' full potential. But yet, not really, because they even that the original songs on the Flintstones was good, but you could say can never really fully use their full potential because it's always like a sort of cap. I don't mean like a modern word cap. I mean cap. It was sort of locked to the sort of scenario, locked that we cannot pass the level because we are not creative enough to pass that level. You have fun moments with the dinosaurs, how they actually use in the world of the Flintstones, but never really go in depth because it's sort of episodic. But sometimes they can really show how creative you can do with an episodic show, but never really figure out what to do with the character, what to evolve them to, or the direction need to be because it was a sitcom show. I think that's sort of the main problem to doing the Flintstones. Do you have too much competition? And also, you think you did everything, but yet if you have some space to evolve it, it will be too late because the other shows who are very similar to the Flintstones had done it before the Flintstones. Even that is sort of ironic they were the first ones to basically focus on that in animation. Even that was the first one in mainstream, even the first one in pop culture, you recognize the characters, but they just locked in the past because the fault of Warner Brothers never using the full potential. But sometimes we don't know, maybe because of contracts, maybe they couldn't do it anymore. But they have attempts to continue on in the franchise. I mean, let's face it, they did like a spin-off series of Bam Bam and Pebbles, but that sort of spin-off series was very terrible. That was sort of been understanding what the Flintstones what could do, what shouldn't do, even that the writing wasn't that great, and pissed off all the old fans or semi-fans of the original show. Even that the show still, the original, still come out in boomerang. So you still have some fans. But unfortunately, they can never get out of that hole. They always fail, ruin, or misunderstand the IP. The only two ideas can you bring back to not to compare to Fang Guy and Peter is basically uh, two things. One of them it was the Flintstones on the Rocks. It's sort of a dope, gritty version of Fred and Wilma, how their marriage kind of broke down. In fact, this kind of pilot was so beloved they actually made a HD version to make it because that was sort of in the 2000s. I think it was the 90s or 2000s. I can't remember which year was it they actually come out. But you understand that pilot itself, people did have endearment. They believed this was the next step. But at the same time, that pilot episode is just sort of bitter off of to each other, but at the same time, it sort of makes sense because it all follows Fred and Wilma sort of kind of stale in their relationship. They just don't know what to do. It doesn't really help. Also, the pilot was sort of a little bit too filler because it was stretching out 20 minutes, just meaning to be 10 minutes. I think it was 20 minutes. I could be wrong. Maybe it could be 10 minutes. Forgive me, correct down below. But you get the idea that they just maybe figure out what to do, but it was sort of too soon because not yet the adult shows were picking up once again. So this is the reason was not given a chance to actually make a series or an animated movie. The only time they did it besides that is the DC comic version of the Flintstones, sort of rediscovering themselves, rediscovering society, politics, and religion, and understand how Fred and Wilma how they fit in the society and they should accept it or not, how the society is developing. They also in that asking that sort of questions. And that sort of was the idea of that comic. Even that they decided to develop that and into the series, but you could say it's almost a prequel series because how Warner Brothers wanted to create called Bedrock following Pebbles of her becoming an adult, her basically raising her own family, living in town, and having his father coming in, visiting and judging them, how they're doing very weird things, not the things they're supposed to do. And that itself sounds very interesting. Also, the part of the best modern take of it, because there have been other takes very similar to that version, because that was sort of two, well, one spin-off. There were kids, but follow of Pebbles and Batman were teenagers, but that was sort of kind of like 7 to 10 minute episodes. And also, they make the movie to end the whole series of Flintstones following of the careers of Batman and Pebbles that was sort of more positive take because they tried to become writers and actors. But once more, that was a long time ago. And revisiting that same idea, I'm tempted to actually evolve it to see make it different. That actually could actually work. The only problem is the writers themselves that nobody knows they actually could do it because how the writers are more mostly well known to tend to be woke, but they never understood what woke really is, and that's one of the biggest fears of a lot of people. It's sort of putting politics that shouldn't be in politics in the Flintstones because the very beginning is sort of what to do the first time you create religion, what to do becoming a cop, what to do with the government. Once more, it makes sense do it as sort of a woke point of view if it done right. But once more, we don't know because Backrow was cancelled. At least for right now, we don't know they're still working on it because you know animation cancel doesn't mean canceled. Greenlit doesn't mean greenlit. It has multiple different ways to interpret it because it depends on the company. Because sometimes half the partners, specifically Fox, didn't want the show, sort of obvious, they have crop topless. Crop topless was the original idea of the Flintstones. So what do we need? We have crop topless was sort of successful. But you wouldn't wonder if this take can actually really bring back the Flintstones. Maybe. We don't know because let's face it, you can't go any directions, especially how Fred and Peter are just so the same politics, the same idea, the same over the top ideas, but even they are completely different timelines. You don't know they can actually do it. Even that because of Peter, you cannot make Fred anymore because Fred will be outdated or to compare to Peter, or even make its own idea with the Pacific genre a little different. But once more, you be compared, but the crews you could be compared to Croptopolis, and that's the issue. There is very little gap to fit in. Yeah, I feel that's sort of interesting if they figure out how to do it, or even that. Are you a fan of the Flintstones? Wanting to bring back the Flintstones, even that could be a bad take on it. Tell me down below. Do you believe that the Flintstones should be coming back? They should reboot. They should continue on because they have potential. Be known, they still have potential. Is that it's just sort of hard today, modern times, because So many things is basically very similar, especially the characters, especially the genre and specific characters that fit in. I don't know. What do you think? My opinion, it could work if they have the right set, the right people. But once more, it's a lot of if we don't know they actually finally do a reboot or a spin-off actually fully works. Tell me down below how you felt about this. Do you think it's a good idea or not? I got nothing else to say, just thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and have a wonderful day. Bye.